Okay, so we're going to do things a little bit differently with this one. But I'm going to do this on a live camera so you can actually see me work. So I want to go over a little bit how to write a 30-minute question and how I would approach doing this and how I recommend that each of you do this. Okay, so if you're struggling to write essays and this is really hard for you, this hopefully will be really helpful for you. 30-minute essays are really important. They're going to be worth on the AP test. It's about a quarter of your grade. Half of your score is going to be your essays, and half of them are going to come from your multiple choice. And of the essays, you're going to get 4 15-minute questions and then 2 30-minute questions. So that 50%, 25% is going to be the 4 short essays, and then the other 25% is going to be the 2 30-minute essays. So you want to make sure that you do a really good job at your 30-minute essays because those are going to be a big chunk of the grade. The nice thing is that most of the 30-minute questions will either give you an image and some choices to choose from, or let you completely choose the images that you want to talk about, but they do kind of give you a little suggestion of some pointers here at the bottom. So this is an essay question here that I kind of put together, and so your test question is going to be similar to this, but it's not going to be exactly like this. But this is an example of what you're going to get. So I'll zoom in here real close so you can actually kind of see what the question is, and then we'll break this up. Okay, so the setup is many Islamic architects use previous buildings as models for newer ones. For a variety of reasons, it was to accomplish a certain look or convey a specific message. Okay, this is kind of your introduction to the question. Nothing that you have to do, just kind of give you some kind of guidance or direction of what they're trying to go with the question. And then, of course, you have images. And then below, it says the images above are from a building called the Mosque of Selim II, constructed in the 1500s by Sinan for Suleiman the Magnificent. So it tells you what building it is, which is going to be really, really nice. And a lot of the questions are doing that more and more now, but it may ask you to identify this particular building, which you would have to give me 3 identifiers. So remember, identifiers are going to be the title, artist, medium, date, culture, or time period it came from, or in the case that if it's a building like this, you can say location. And location can be the city, or it can be the country. Some cases it should be the city, like if you should know that the Dome of the Rock is located in Jerusalem, then you should say Jerusalem, okay? But the country would be okay for the location of a building, okay? So nothing you have to do with this part here. Again, just part of the setup. Now it says identify the building this was modeled after, okay? So that is our task number 1. So this is how I would set it up. I'm going to jump back and forth a little bit here. When I write my essays, I like to, because I'm a visual person, I like to do this kind of visually. And so I'm going to suggest that you create an outline like this, where you create this little chart and you break it up into 3 columns here. The column starting on the left, you're going to list what the task is. Number 3 is what your answer is to the task. And then over here is your supporting evidence. Okay? Because remember, you can make all the statements you want to, but unless you support it with some actual evidence, you're not going to get full credit. And not every task is going to have evidence that you have to say. So for example, it says that to identify the building this is modeled after. Okay? Again, identify the building. So guess what? I have to give 3 IDs of building it was modeled after or copied. Okay? That is task number 1. Is to give 3 IDs of building copied, okay? So, looking at this over here, my 3 identifications are, oh, I know that one. It's the Hagia Sophia. It was located in, we'll put Constantinople. And it was built we labeled it as the year 500. Okay, so those are my three identifiers of the Hagia Sophia. There's no evidence I need to put on there because it's not asking me to describe or to analyze or discuss. Okay, that's just the answer. So I'm okay there. So if I got those, then I get all the points for it. So over here, if I keep going, it says discuss two features it took from the building on how it was used and modified. So my task number 2 is one feature from this. And my notes are really messy. I put arrows, I make all kinds of, I don't erase things, I just cross them out. Erasing is going to waste your time because time can be an issue. Okay, so number 1 feature, my task number 2. My task number 3 is my second feature. Okay? And before we go in and even worry about those, I try to break this down into something manageable. Because if you're like me, I get overwhelmed and immediately want to start jumping in here. But before we go any further, let's identify what my 7 tasks are going to be. And then let's work about brainstorming and then work on building up your evidence. Okay? So let's figure out what my number 4 is. My number 4 task. So I've got 1, and then this is 2 and 3. And then over here it says, discuss the formal elements of the design that accommodate key Islamic beliefs. Okay? So, again, the word is going to be discuss and elements. So that's going to imply more than one. Okay? So I'm going to put this as task number 4, is to identify these Islamic beliefs. Okay? So, formal elements. And you want to pay attention to what it wants you to discuss. The discussion is not the design or Islamic beliefs. It's the formal elements, that accommodate the beliefs. Okay? Formal elements equal beliefs. Just going to paraphrase that. Okay? That's my task number 4. My task number 5, let's keep reading. So identify another Islamic building that was commissioned by a powerful ruler / dynasty. Okay, so identify, so again it's going to be 3 ID, another Islamic building. Okay? It doesn't say mosque, it just says building. So I can pick a building here. But as I'm looking ahead, it's going to give me some choices down here at the very, very bottom here. It's going to give me some choices of what I can pick. Okay, so that's number 5. So that means I got 2 more to figure out. So here, keep going. It says discuss how the structure satisfies the interests of that ruler and identify aspects of the design or elements of the building that satisfy the interests of the ruler. Okay? So I've got to identify how the building satisfies ruler. So building equals the ruler. How does the building satisfy the ruler? And I've got to discuss my number 7, elements of design and how that reflects the interests of the ruler. Okay, so those are my 7 tasks. Okay? All right, so now let's break down what I've got for my answer for each of these questions. Okay? So what is one feature that they used to, oh, sorry, you can see this. Let me back up here a little bit. Okay, so now what are some of the elements they used? They copied from the Hagia Sophia. Well, I could say the central plan, that's pretty obvious. The central plan design, this large dome, okay, and that's my evidence. I'm going to put this large dome over center of building. Okay. And the second feature I could talk about the windows, right? Because you can see in this picture right here, it's got the row of windows. Okay, it copied its use of windows. So we could talk about row. So going over here for my evidence. So they copied the windows is my answer. What's my evidence? You can see the windows as rows at the base of dome. Okay, and I also can see that they are in the archways, which is also what they did at the Hagia Sophia. Rows of the base and in the archways. So I could discuss and talk about those, okay, and make that a whole big discussion about how they're similar, why they're there, okay, to really support this idea that I know why and how they copied the Hagia Sophia over here, okay? So the next question is, the number 4, was to discuss the formal elements of its design and how they accommodate the key beliefs. Well, I know the key beliefs, so I got to ask myself, well, first of all, what are the key beliefs of is the Islamic culture, the Islamic building like this? Well, I know that the key belief is that in order to worship God, you've got to pray. And I know that Islamic buildings, they're all designed to accommodate this idea of prayer. So the key Islamic belief equals prayer. This idea that we must be in constant communication with God. And the mosque also was designed to accommodate prayer. Okay? Now, if I just say this, I am right, I'm correct, but I'm not going to get the full points unless I'm supporting it with evidence now. Okay? So, so in what ways now does this building show that it's built to accommodate prayer? Okay? Well, first of all, looking from the outside, you have your minarets. And this can be a pretty long, lengthy discussion, but I'm just going to try to point out as many of the things that I can, but be specific. Okay? You're going to use words like, when you actually write this out, that as you can see in the picture, this building uses 4 minarets. Okay? So the 4 minarets on the corners, and the fact that there's 4 symbolize the throne of God. Okay, we talked about that when we talked about the Taj Mahal, how in the central plan buildings you have the 4 posts. It's supposed to represent how these are the posts that hold up the canopy of heaven over the throne of God. Okay, I can talk about this large open space. Okay, a big central plan mosque. If I look at the picture here, I can see the floor is just this large open space to accommodate prayer. Large open space. You can see they all face the Qibla wall. We can see that the Qibla wall is right over here. You can see the minbar and the mihrab over in the picture over here. So that's when I would mention. Whoops, Qibla. Well, like I said, this is really messy, so you probably can't read what I'm writing, but that's okay because this is just for me. And I'm not worried about getting it clean. I'm just worried about getting my ideas on a piece of paper. So I'm not trying to think and write at the same time. Right now, all I'm doing is just the thinking part. So you got the Qibla wall, you got the mihrab. Okay, you could talk about the decoration. Remember, there's no figurative work. So I could talk about the decoration, this love of geometry. Okay, and that's to get you to think about the greatness of God. Give you a sense of humility. Okay, and I could keep going there. Okay, but I think this would be enough to give me all the points for this particular task right here. Okay, let's move on to our number 5, the idea of another Islamic building. Okay, if you look at the question over here, it says, you may either select a work from the list below or select one of your own choosing. You're not limited to the works on the official image set. So, and that's true. You can talk about any piece that you want to, but you have to make sure what you're talking about is correct. Even if it's not something we did cover in class, if you know something about another mosque that we haven't talked about, you can talk about that if you want to. But this is kind of giving us a clue, and I like this a lot because it kind of, if you're kind of stuck, well, I'm not quite sure, what would be a good choice, just go with these. You're not penalized if you pick any of these choices here. But you have to remember, if I picked let's say, for example, I pick the Taj Mahal, because the title was given me, I can't count the title as one of my 3 identifiers. Okay? So I still have to come up with 3 identifiers of my own. Okay? So I could say that it was made out of marble and precious stones. Okay? I could say the date was, I believe 1600 was the date, and I could say it's located in India. Those would be my 3 identifiers, and I get all the points for that. Okay, don't need any evidence. That's the answer right there. Okay, so now I got to go to topic number 6. And discuss what is the interest of the ruler. Why did the ruler, who was Shah Jahan, why did he create the Taj Mahal? He wanted it to reflect, well, he wanted it to be a tomb to wife and to symbolize her beauty, her greatness, and the love between the two. Okay, what's my evidence of this? Okay, well, the fact that there is a tomb located on this inside, that's pretty strong evidence that this was, my spelling is totally off today. Clear evidence that that's what he wanted to do. And it was designed around this idea of perfection. Okay, perfection in the symmetry, the number 8, the gardens, water. Okay, that's all evidence to support this idea that I'm talking about. Okay, and then lastly, question number 7 is elements of the design. How does anything specifically element of its design reflect the interests of the ruler? Okay, so let's pick an element of the Taj Mahal and talk about that specifically. Okay, and we could use the gardens for an example. Okay, so let's talk about the gardens. Okay, so what is the evidence we can talk about in the gardens? Okay, its layout reflects this idea because it's divided into multiple sections of 4s and 8s. The inclusion of reflecting pools / water. No, you can't see what I'm writing. Sorry. Reflecting pools / water. You talk about its symmetry, all of which supports this idea of perfection here. Okay? And that would be enough to give me all the points there. Okay? So at this point, now that I've done all my thinking, I got all my thinking out on one page. Okay? And now I can go in and just focus on the writing part. Okay, so this should take you maybe 5-10 minutes or so. I mean, I obviously took more because I talked it through, so you got to be a lot quicker than what I just did. But because I'm doing this way, I kind of explained as I went along. But ideally, you should take at least the first 5 minutes to do some serious brainstorming. So now that all my ideas are on a piece of paper, now I just plug them in. So I can just, if this was my computer here, if we were writing this on a piece of paper, On the actual AP test, if this was a normal year, then you would have to write it out on a piece of paper. But this year being the COVID year, then we'll probably take them on the computer again. But then I just started writing them out, okay? So Hagia Sophia was built, or this building was modeled after the Hagia Sophia, okay? And when you're writing, just rephrase the questions here. In order to make sure you're answering the questions, just rephrase this, okay? Identify the building this was modeled after. This building was modeled after the Hagia Sophia, built in 500 in Constantinople. Boom, done, got all the points, hit everything I needed to do, okay? Second question, discuss 2 features it took from this building and how they were used and modified. One feature it took from this building is its central plan design, period. The central plan design is when a building is built with a large dome directly over the center of the building, and all the other parts of the building radiate around that central dome, okay? You can see that, and this is one thing that you're going to say in your essay. As you can see in the example, there is one large dome in the middle with all smaller domes radiating around that central dome, okay? So use that phrase. That's going to be really helpful. As you can see, or in the example, make sure that you say that so that they know that you're referring back to the specific piece. And you just do that with each one. You just go through, rewrite the question, put in your answer, period, then start your discussion with the evidence. What is the evidence you're trying to use to support what you just said about the windows or about its central plan design? Okay? So hopefully make it a way that makes sense to you. Okay? If writing essays scare you and intimidate you, I was never a great writer. Essays always terrified me in school because I never felt really confident about it until a teacher helped me to sit down and figure out a way to map them out. Okay? And there's lots of different ways. You can do the whole bubble thing where you put your main idea in the middle and just branch out the ideas of evidence to the sides here. That works great. Okay, I like it this way because then I make sure that everything's laid out for me. Okay, but find out what works for you. Find a way to break something down that's really, really hard and really, really scary into something that you can just manage one step at a time. Yeah, I can think of what the answer to this one task is. Boom, write that down, move on to the next one. And so you're not overwhelmed. I find it's really easy to get overwhelmed with writing essay questions because so much comes at you all at once. And I know this is extra work because none of this is graded. Okay, I don't get to see any of this. The AP test doesn't get to see any of this. But this extra work is going to, number one, keep all your ideas separated so that you're answering each task. But it's going to make it a lot easier and less stressful for you because you don't have to think and write at the same time. You're just thinking and then writing, not trying to do both. So anyway, I hope this helps as you're writing your essays. Give this a try for this particular essay here. You are going to be timed on your essay test, so make sure that you're keeping track of your time. Okay? And good luck, guys. This is quite a lot that can be asked of you, but I believe in you. You can do it.